Well, allow me to go first. Yeah, so I'm very interested in providing from the top all the way down to engineers visibility into task progress, project progress, um, roadmap visibility, and roadmap progress, so that value can be seen to be given, and so that we can actually start to enable IT governance in a new way, focusing on from getting the board to focus more on delivering, making sure they get the right value from IT, because I don't think that's being communicated very well.
Right.
So I hope that dragonboat will provide that information that helps them see that they're making the right decisions or they need to change course.
Right. Perfect. So this is a very very good context, and I think that's also a great place for us to start. In that, so give you some context, my background, and how would dragonboat even come into play, and from there we can go a little bit deeper into how dragonboat as a product works. Does it work? Okay.
Yeah, that works for me. An and Ha. I'm not sure if I guess Hua didn't join us in Philip either. Because we're busy. But yeah, have you got anything that you specifically want to focus on, gentlemen?
Yes, I have the MPA now. We have the roadmap for the MVP 1, and so up to MVP 8. Maybe we use this to create the first dragonboat.
Okay, perfect. I will touch upon that as well. So I want to give you gentlemen a little bit background of myself and how dragonboat come into play. I've been in product and program and tech management for almost 20 years, working in Silicon Valley. And I've worked at a lot of companies, from banks to PayPal to an AI machine learning company in the past. And I built the first portfolio management for PayPal, and then later on built portfolio management for 4 more companies, and the 2 of them are public companies. One of them recently went IPO. So as a part of the experience, one is we learned how to manage portfolio in a way that works for Agile team, and the other one is we tried all the tools and there's none. That's why it led us to start this company, which is a tool for you to tie your portfolio and the product into the with Agile execution. So I'm going to just give you a quick overview how this product works on the overall perspective. So as everyone in this room, on this meeting now, all of you guys, what you are, the roles you're playing, you link your executives with your teams, right? Basically, that's what we do. So our job is Agile leaders, and our job is to connect the leaders to the execution. So the idea is that today, everyone, obviously, if your Agile team execute well and perform in a normal Agile Scrum process, it's a very well-defined tools that there are a lot of tools, right? So we're integrated with that. They do their tasks, do their sprints, and all that stuff. But they're not tied to high-level objective. They don't tie high-level initiative. They don't tie into high-level strategic themes. And that's what we set out to solve, which is to connect all the strategic objectives, strategic initiatives, strategic themes, and we do high-level planning, and then we do high-level allocation, and then we score and then prioritize them so that by the time we go to engineering team, and then we know these are the right things to do. And obviously we will do reporting, but reporting is, just tell us how we're doing with our initial portfolio planning. And our portfolio planning is even more important because that determines everything else that happens afterwards. So that's what dragonboat is. And one of the recent feature release is something we call the Mighty Timeline, which is a version tool of our current timeline feature, which is a lot more flexible, but the general concept is the same. We have an all-in-one portfolio, very flexible portfolio tool that allow you to brainstorm and visualize, to score and prioritize, allocate an estimate, and eventually help you to track progresses as well as communicate to your stakeholders as appropriate. So with that said, I'm going to go into just a quick of the sort of the all-in-one portfolio management, what that means. So as you know, building product is more than just a workflow from one team pass on to the other. It actually goes both in a sequential phase, from brainstorm, visualize, to prioritize, to allocate, estimate, track and adjust. We also make changes along the way, right? So you have, if something takes longer, we maybe need to split it out into two phases. We have to prioritize the second phase separately. If something is estimate too big, maybe we'll go back to drawing board because it's too big. We have to solve the same problem differently. So from a product perspective, it's not like a product want to do something and send it over to engineering, right? So it's a product and the engineer work together based on the sizing, and then we prioritize and we change. So that's generally the concept. So with that, we are going to these 5 steps. The first one is brainstorm, visualize. And this is to really help you to put your ideas easily into dragonboat in many different ways. So let's look at this. Can you guys see the dragonboat product page?
Yep, I can see it.
So right now, I filtered to something just to show my idea. So you can see everything right now is grouped by theme. And this is just the one way of group that. If I remove grouping, you can see all the things you could do, right? And we can, let's say, for example, I have all the things that I want to do. How am I going to explain that to my stakeholders, what these things are? So we, from that, we will say, okay, let's define our either objectives. In this case, you can see we define the different objectives, right? In each of the objectives, the product ideas can fall into it. Or we can say, hey, we can define by themes. We can have themes like growth, revenue, cost reduction, innovation, and fraud prevention, all that stuff. You can define your different themes. So that will give you a way to categorize all the stuff into the ways that's more manageable than just a laundry list of ideas, right? So use theme as the example. So now you can see things are undefined. Let's use growth. So let's say we have a bunch of ideas around the growth, and what if I have another idea? Let's say we are going to have a partnership, right? So let's say I create something called partnership. I just add a partnership idea, and this is coming to here. Now we can take this to do estimation, to do effort and prioritization across the board. So as you can see, adding something into here is very simple. Okay, so in here, so we talk about the themes, right? So I'm sure once you have a product backlog, you want to categorize and group them into here. Now, the second part of it, what if we don't look at a theme? What if I look at the product areas? So now we talk about our product areas. You can look at product areas, like let's say you have transactions, or you have your mobile, you have others. Now we look at things in different lenses as well, right? Give you ability to look at all your laundry list of things to say, here's how I'm thinking about this. Not only that would allow me to think about this, it will also allow me to negotiate with my stakeholders. For example, I could say, this is my, business and banking stakeholders, and this is my, operations. So then you can negotiate your priorities across different stakeholders, because that's how different projects tie to different ways, right? And then I'm going back to the goals because there's a little bit of things interesting. Now I show you how to add an idea. Basically, it's easy as Excel, right? You just add something, it will be added. What if you say, I already have a bunch of stuff in spreadsheet, what do I do? So you can, if it's in Jira, we can import from Jira. But in this case, let's use an example. This is in your spreadsheets. Somewhere in your spreadsheet, you have a list of stuff. Let's say it looks like here. So I have my 4 features. And I'm going to put this 4 features here, right? And then I will say, okay, these are different owners. So I have them onto different owners. Let's say we'll put it here. So now you add, okay, these are tied to different objectives. So and so on and so forth. You can tell now that I can easily add, okay, let's see, what was the objective? Oh, there you go. So basically, I just import whatever I have into the system. Super, super easy, right? So you can see all that stuff in. We can import idea. We can group them by strategic pillars. We can visualize and cluster based on the time frame. What that means is I just add a bunch of stuff. Where did they go? They're here. Okay, so I can say, okay, we do this later, and then maybe we can do this one even later. There is dependencies, so we have to work on this first. You can visualize your roadmap super easily without doing a whole lot of work, right? You can easily see what's going on, right? Now, obviously, this is what we want from a visual perspective. How do I know this is important? How do I prioritize that? Now, companies have a different ways of prioritization. Let's using this way. You can prioritize based on your ROIs, based on your scoring, based on your benefits and the resources, based on the different dimensions. So dragonboat is super, super flexible for you to do that. Let's using this example. I'm going to remove progress, remove health, keep the owner. Maybe we will say benefit, right? Let's put a benefit score on it. Let's put an effort. So let's see how much effort that is. So now maybe I'll add this. So basically, you can now see how we are adding the different elements. I'll remove the owner so it's less busy. Now you can see something. You will say, okay, so the benefit, we will say, so our recommendation, now obviously it can be used very flexibly, however you want to use it, but for the sake of this demo, we will say this benefit is how much they can contribute to this objective. So let's say feature 1 can contribute to 30% of the objective. Means if I do feature 1, we can achieve this objective, let's say growth 10%, 20% week over week, or 50% year over year growth. If I build this feature, it will help us 30% towards that goal. So I can create this benefit. Then I will say this one take us 8 weeks, using an example, right? So now we'll calculate your metric over available resources. So we will say, based on the benefit, based on the effort, we get a score. So you can use the score to prioritize your across the board, what is the sizing, right? Any question?
Okay. No, this is great.
Awesome. So now we show you cost, benefit, and metric. Some companies as a product team say, no, we actually don't use this. We use something else. We use RICE. So RICE is again, I don't know what do you guys do, but if you guys use RICE, RICE is the score the product team does. They have something called reach, impact, confidence, effort. So we kind of show you the effort earlier, but we will say this feature would reach to 20% of our customers. And it has impact usually from 9 to 10. Let's say it has pretty high impact, good for them. And we have, let's say 60% of confidence will achieve this. So now you get a RICE score. And then you can use the RICE score as well, so on and so forth. So you can use a quantifiable way to prioritize. And it's very flexible. And if you say, I don't use any of those stuff, I just use, give me a custom field. You can create a custom field for that as well. So give you ability to show across the board how things are, how priority can be quantified using benefit and basically resource. Okay, so we talk about different scoring system to quantify and prioritize your product. Now I'm going to another step 3, which is estimate and allocate. Now this is something, we actually have many tiers and iterations of estimate. This really depends on how your team worked today, and also depends on your, I don't want to say maturity, but in some ways, some teams are managing their resources very tightly. They spend a lot of time managing resources. They want to manage very at a very low level of granularity, and then they will use advanced planning, so they can go to the point, say, I blocked the PTO, I blocked training, and blah, so that we have our resources very precise, so that give us a higher ability to predict time. Some at a higher level, though, you want to just do a teacher level sizing, so that you can at least decide whether I'm going to go with it or not before I go down all the details. So you can decide how much deeper you want to go resourcing, but we allow you to do all of that. We kind of show you earlier about something called effort, right? Effort is kind of teacher sizing. Now, effort can be done in a way of, for example, points. Effort can be done in a way of weeks, man weeks. Depends on how your company and your team work. And let's say you did effort. We also show you assignment and also estimate. So estimates and assignments are two levels of details where you can actually, so let's using this example. You can see here, this one is estimate. What does it mean is that shows you that I need one person from this team that is this skill to do, to spend 2 weeks working on this project. And this one happens, you use the estimate if you have different teams, they have different skills. Sometimes you have a mobile team cannot work on Java, and you have iOS people cannot work on Android, and you have data scientists who obviously cannot code your mobile app. So if you have different people involved in building the same project, you could use this kind of estimate to understand your resourcing needs. And this resourcing needs, as you can see here, can be also displayed in a way that give you indication on whether you have enough resources or not. So I just show the resource screen. What this one did was it show you that you have a full stack engineers on the web team. As you can see, you don't have 4 engineers in these times. So then you have to decide who gets pushed out, basically, right? Who gets to push to later. So this is where all your scoring and other things come into play. You say, well, this is not as important because they were added later. We can move them out. And I can move this guy out as well. And the other thing is, if you use contractors, you would say, oh, okay, we need more contractors, so we can go bring more contractors in. So this one gave you ability to forecast your resourcing needs, and so that you can add and remove resources, or delay your some of your projects to later, so that you can actually work on what you need to work on. Any questions?
I'm saving them for later.
Okay, so I also want to show you something which is very helpful in prioritization. It's called allocation. A lot of times in the traditional project management or even traditional product management, you get to know allocation only after money already spent, only after work is already done. You do a report to say, oh, how much we're allocated. But that's kind of late, right? I already spent the money. What can I do? In here, we're still in the process of planning, so that you can see that there's some noise. I wonder I can.
So sorry, I left my mic unmuted. Sorry.
It's okay. So, so what's in this case where we can see that in objective 2 is taking more than half of all the resources we have here. Now we have a conversation to be had on, is this the right allocation? Should we allocate less on that? So that means we can also potentially, for example, move some of the projects of objective 2 to later, so that it doesn't take so much resource. So these are the things we can consider, for example. So allocation is basically a portfolio concept at play, right? So we really can see the effort, the resourcing needs, and the allocation to give us ability to say, are we going to work on this now? Are we going to get more resources, or are we going to delay some of the projects? Cool. So if you can see here is we can do simple planning using effort. We can do more detailed planning, which is use team and skills. We can do also advanced planning with assignment, which will block PTO. I think in some of the team today in ACB, they actually use assignment to block some of resources. Not every team does it, but some team does it. So allocation will give you ability to see where you allocate your resources by different dimensions. All I here to share with you is by goal. I can also share, also look at this by theme, so I know where we are spending our resources by theme. That also can become a allocation report based on theme. So you can see that some of them didn't have a theme. Maybe we should look at them. And then the ones that have theme, the growth account for the most. Business intelligence hardly has anything. So these are, again, give us ability to say, are we allocate and prioritize correctly across the portfolio? Because once you have a roll-up view, actually you can see what's going on. So that's the portfolio allocation. Now, I'm going to move on to the next topic, which is a planned versus predict timeline and roll-up schedules and trade-off considerations. So before I go to the next schedule, I want to do something real quick, which is it's something we called draft mode. So this is something very handy. A lot of our customers use it. What they do is they can, quote unquote, play around their roadmaps based on the resourcing, based on the prioritization they think about. And then they would take basically take this version as a saved version, and then they can do multiple versions. And then they take the versions, have discussions with their stakeholders to say which one that's the best for us, right? You can set up the timeline, you can look at a schedule, and etc. So once you have this work with your stakeholders and everyone happy with one or two, scenario 1, scenario 2, scenario 3, you can come back to confirm that version so that this one is actually not saved. So your versions are drafted or not saved, and where you have your source of truth still saved the way it is. Okay, so now let's look at the portfolio visibility. I think that's something a lot of us are very interested to know. So what I will do is I'm going to show a time frame here. I'm going to show effort. I'm going to show points. Assume your team use points. They don't have to use points. We can just use issue count. That's not a problem as well. And what this one would do is I would also show a target start date and the target end date, which was what we were originally planned, right? So we create a roadmap. We have our target start date and end date. But then we also want to know, are we going to be on time, right? We don't know we're on time or not because that already goes into Jira. So what you see here, a couple of things you see here. You see that that we have this effort that we estimated, and come out of Jira, you add up all the stories as 28, which is a lot, right? It's a lot more than what we thought. But the good news is it's already 75% completed inside of Jira. And you can see this green line. This green line tells you what Jira progress, your team's progress predict. And this blue line is what we planned. So let's say we plan here, and we are the team's progress predicted here, which is green. That's good news, right? If I were to turn this on, you can see actual stories inside of Jira. That 2 of the stories and in progress, and 2 of the stories have not started. These are the different points of the stories, and I think there were another stories coming earlier, and then you can add up the predict a timeline for you here, so on and so forth. So now, if I would remove this, so I think Kevin, to your point earlier, you say, hey, I want to see the progress at the portfolio level, at the team level, and the task level. That's where you are. So this in your portfolio, let's say you have a couple of roadmaps, right? So these are your portfolio of different areas. In this area, we would add, let's say we group. So we will group your timelines all the way up. Now what you see is that you can see your portfolio groups together this is a website roadmap. Website roadmap, based on all you have here, is 41% complete. That's a little bit behind what is supposed to be here on today. And if I go dive down in deeper, I can see all the projects and where their progress are. I can go all the way down to see tasks, right? So I can see this is my whole portfolio. And this is the individual product areas. These are individual projects, and inside of each project, you can see tasks. You can see all of them at once. So this is the place where we can see plan versus predicted timeline. We can roll up our schedules, and then we can make trade-off considerations. If you want to move, if you see some projects are delayed, some projects ahead of schedule, maybe you can add more resources. You can move resources from one project to the other because you can see they are progressing in different speed. All right, so I'm going to touch upon the last one, then we can go to a question mode. So this last one is view and share, and you can share with your stakeholders as well to communicate what's going on. So in dragonboat, it's very flexible. You can share different views. So for example, I created a view called high priority health. So if I have this view, it will give me different set of the data, different set of the layout, and I can share this with my stakeholders. I can have meetings, and this is something that I can easily use it to communicate with the external. When I say external, obviously not R&D, not product engineering, but more of an outside IT area. Yeah. So if you want to change it, let's say we want to change this to only group by, for example, I want to group by roadmap, and I will change this filter to show only Q3 and Q4. Then I have a last set of the data. And then I want to share this in a different view so that I can create a different view, or I can update an existing view. Let's say I use this, I will update an existing view, and I can save, and I can also share this link to other people's, or I can just mention people's name, and then will be shared with others. So when they when they come into the site, they will see this view inside of this drop down. They can click it and see what you want them to see. Okay, so we talk about a visibility view and a share and hire data. I'm going to just go through quickly a couple of things, then I will open for question. So first of all, I want to really highlight is that what we're building is not just the product. What we're building is actually a business portfolio. This business portfolio has to balance 3 elements. One is business outcome. That's good for us as a business, right? Otherwise, we'd be out of business. Nobody gonna get anything. So it's important to focus on business outcome, but that cannot be the only thing. The second part of it is the products. The product has to be something customer like it, right? Otherwise, again, it's not sustainable. The third part, a lot of people don't realize is the team. Do we have the resources? Do we have the skill sets? Do we have the capacity? Do we plan for the dependencies so that when everything comes together, we can deliver in the most efficient ways, not one team block the other? And that's where we really enable all 3 pieces coming together. We have elements tied to customer. We have elements tied to objectives. The themes are very much similar to customers. You can use the categories or other things. We also have elements about the teams, the roadmaps, the skill sets, and the resources that really allow us to be able to tie all of them together, have a portfolio where you can align, prioritize, and track. So with that said, I also want to share a couple. We didn't go through everything because this is a large product. But some people say, hey, I don't like a Gantt chart. I want something else. So this is like Excel. It's like a spreadsheet, right? It feels like a spreadsheet. They're used like a spreadsheet. It's very visual, very flexible. You can just do almost everything like we did in the other part. Or some people say, hey, I want just like a Trello board. It's simple, it's easy, drag and drop. You can do all of that as well. You can group it by different categories. And then same thing, you can filters and manage data just here. You can use group by goals, group by theme, etc. Things are prioritized here. Some of you say, hey, I don't like any of those. I just want to do a PowerPoint. So it's easier to communicate to my stakeholders. We can do this all in one slide format as well. And these are coming to our product. So this is, for example, this is the slide format. You can share with your executives, you can share with your business team, when's gonna be certain things available, how they tie to different objectives, and how different pieces gonna come into play. And you can share a high-level dashboard, for example, to say, hey, if I wanna see different themes, what we're working on different themes, growth, for example, its total progress is 49%. There are 4 features in place, 2 of them in progress, 2 of them completed, but not started. If I dive into that, I can see the level of details I can see. And these are the, sort of the stakeholder communication coming into play. So, and with that said, we kind of went through all parts of dragonboat at a very high level very quickly. The 5 steps of portfolio management is all in one place. It's very customizable and flexible. So use us. You are going to be a product superstar.
Awesome. Okay. I have a bunch of questions.
Go ahead.
Could you please go back to the previous slide with the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5? That one. Yeah. Okay. So. And sorry, we're doing construction, so we have concrete drills buzzing over our heads all day long for weeks. So in these first 2, for all of these things, who do you think are the sort of typical participants in Brainstorm Visualize outside of IT?
Right.
Like how high up the chain is this supposed to go?
Right. So very, very good question. So it depends on how you like to work. In most companies, that the Brainstorm Visualize happens inside this team, so IT product engineering team. However, your themes, your objectives need to align with your executive team, because obviously if your theme don't align with what they think, that will be a big breakdown. So you could bring them in, or you just bring something you already decided. Say, let's say as a company, we're going to do IT transformation, want to do digital transformation. As a part of the digital transformation, we have 4 goals. These 4 goals are, reduce paper process by 80%, whatever that is, right? So you have 4 goals. So these are 4 goals, and then you will say, and so that's something from executive. And then from the leadership, like you guys, you will say, to achieve these 4 goals, we will have these 5 themes. So these 5 themes are basically your strategies. And your strategy say, for us to reduce manual work by 80%, we're going to have, workflow automation. I'm going to have data in the cloud, whatever. You have a couple of strategy, right? And that's unique to you. So once you have a theme and objective aligned with the executive team, then this is where your product and IT team start to brainstorm and visualize. And that's all you. And then you obviously, once you've done a high level roadmap, you can present it to them. But the goal is to bring the high level direction from your executive team, so there's no surprises. And then you have to do enough work, scope, prioritize, the estimate, allocate. You have to do enough work before you go to them. Otherwise, it's a little too early. Then, obviously that may not be something totally achievable, that we get into more of a problem down the road.
Okay. Sorry, I left my mic open again. Yeah. So so I'm just how working through in my head how we would do this. So for example, I'm a leader
I'm not an executive, but I would say, to the head of the CTO, I'd say, Duncan, hey, listen, so here are some things, here are some themes
Right.
I can propose. And then I think there are some initiatives within those themes. Is that we're talking about? So when we're brainstorming portfolio strategy and execution.
Right. You are.
Oh yeah. Okay, good. Yes. Okay. I got it. Okay, this is good. Yeah. Yeah. So I'm just one. Yeah. So what is the full process? Well, because I can see, obviously I worked on projects and stuff like that. But in terms of who we need to participate, and taking this even higher up to, the board, for example, to say, because in IT governance, you want to get value. So do we just, from your experience, would we like present, this is what we're thinking and this is the value we think, and then the board says yes or no or whatever.
Right.
Okay, right.
Right. So typically what happened at the executive level with the board is they agree on the objective. So your objective is something your executive and your board agree on. And that's somewhat achievable, right? Obviously your CTO or yourself would not just create you probably based on some high level understanding of how much it takes to get to this objective. Once you and your executive team and the board agree on objective, then then your leadership team, including yourself, would work with your leads here to say what are the initiative and the projects. And these are the things that typically, so initiative will be multi-quarter and the projects will be multi-month. And then you can almost use the size as a somewhat appropriate way to manage it, right? So think about a task, it's a couple of days. A task mostly finish within a week. Project will be multi-week, right, to month. And the initiative will be, multi-month, which is like a quarter. And then,
Gotcha.
Objectives multi-quarter, which we're talking about within the annual horizon. So then your executive think about things in the multiple quarter in the annual timeline. And then your directors and managers and those who will look at quarterly timeline, like on a month by month basis what we're going to be working on, and your team going to look at week by week what are the things we're working on. So then they can each be responsible for a certain size of the autonomy or decision framework.
Okay. Brilliant. Okay, good. And are you going to share parts of this deck with us, or is this already online?
Yeah, we can totally share this part of the deck with you. As you notice, I have two decks because I realized you asked for some of the stuff, so I can pull these two things together as appendix, so you can use it. But these two parts are very foundational. I think it will be really helpful for your team, which is the appropriate size. I think when I talk to a lot of teams, they have a similar challenge. They couldn't figure out who gets involved in what. So once we break things down to say, your teams, your individual engineers working on things, they should worry about things that take less than a week. Anything bigger than a week, they definitely need to talk to their managers, right? Knowing that's something they should do. If something takes less than a week, they should have somewhat of autonomy to decide, and so on and so forth. So I will definitely have this slide as well as this slide to you, because I think it also helps your team with a little bit context on, at the leadership level, you are more focused on drive alignment with executive and the board on the objective, and then working within yourselves, all of you, on initiatives and the forecast of the initiative, which is the timeline of the initiatives. And then I'm not saying push down to the engineering team, but in many ways, you communicate to engineering teams individually, so then they can plan their sprints and stuff, but we will drive the visibility coming up. So you can provide the visibility by objective, look at initiative, look at forecast. If we come to here, you can look at initiative, look at objectives, and you can see what is being worked on in the objective. I can look at by, for example, roadmap. So you can go see all the way from objective down to the roadmap and down to individual project and down to individual task. And that also means that we need to set up a Jira such so that each of these projects is one epic. And your team put this epic inside, put the stories inside the epic so we don't lose them. A lot of times that, not a challenge, but one of the things we educate a lot of teams is that they don't get their Jira set up correctly. They have epic, it never ends. And
Yeah.
that's very unfortunate because that you can't track progress. And Jira is, Jira kind of messed up many people because they use those terms that are very confusing. For example, in Jira, there's a term called a project. It is not a project, but they call it a project. So everyone thought it's a project. So some people created hundreds of projects. They thought that was meant to be project, but in Jira, a project really means it's how a team works together. It's almost like a team workflow. Or a little organization or something. It really shouldn't be used as a project, but Jira called a project cause a lot of people get confused on what it is. Same thing on Epic. In the typical, like a definition of Epic in the pure Agile term, it's a theme. But in Jira, Epic really is just a random type of grouping. And the best way to use it is to use it to reflect on a project as we know it, a product feature, so that a bunch of activities needs to happen, which is quote unquote tasks, go under that. So that every epic should have a start, should have an end date, should have a scope, which is those stories. Now, obviously, when you have bugs and stuff, it should also tie into the epic because they are part of the work required to deliver that project and or product feature. But epic should be used as a way to define the scope of a project as we know it.
Okay, so then in dragonboat, then a theme is a one-to-one relationship with an epic?
No, an idea
No?
is an epic.
Okay, so sorry,
So
can you go? Sorry, can you go back to that road? Your roadmap that had the screen that had many roadmaps, many themes or something. I can't remember.
Here?
It was an early on. No,
Oh.
it was one of the first deck, fourth. Yeah, maybe that one. Themes.
Okay. So here, yes. So so what we used in dragonboat is we actually use a standard business term, and you can name it to reflect to how ACB use it. Maybe you call it differently. Some companies call it differently. Some company call it a strategic pillar. Some company call investment horizon 1, 2, 3. Some company call it whatever. You basically it's a weight of group. But the way we think about the way sometimes they call it customer segments or other stuff. So the way we define it is, first of all, we don't hard code a term. You can use the term based on your business needs so that it actually more reflect your need. We're not gonna use Jira's way so that confuse a lot of people. That's number one. Two is this are a high level grouping. Think about this, it's almost like how your board and how your executive team think about this. Because from your executive team perspective, they probably will have a couple of things. You can call this a strategy as well if you want. Your executive team will be something like this, right? I have business goals. This business goal is something like a revenue growth, cost reduction, and whatever, right? So that's your business goals. That happens in here.
Right. And so these are themes.
Right. Then you have I have a strategic themes. My strategic themes like a mobile. Right. My strategic themes will be whatever, AI, who knows. So these are strategic themes, which is a higher than initiative, higher than the projects, because the projects go under them, right? So that you could come in, sorry to jump around a little bit.
No, that's fine.
What you could do is something say, I'm going to look at my goals. And I also want to look at themes. I could look at the goals, for example, objective 1, and inside of that, I have business intelligence, I have growth, so that you have a different themes for objectives. So you can have a multi-level of grouping and still going down to the project level.
Oh, yeah. Okay, I see now. Oh, okay. Gotcha. So in this view, this is a look at the, these objectives, and you have a collection of the
Yeah.
themes that are addressed in this
Right.
objective. Okay.
Exactly.
Okay. Cool. Okay. Sorry, did you objective 4, or do you have some other like concrete objective that
Yeah, we can do
just
this.
as an example?
Yeah, we can do this, right? So for example, I'll move this one 4 down because the 4 is better to be here. So we'll say grow revenue. How about that?
Ah, okay. I see it. Gotcha.
Right.
Gotcha.
And in here,
Oh,
you
yes,
will say
yes.
reduce churn. So even though grow new accounts, okay, grow new accounts. Right, new accounts is different from a churn, right? This is we'll say operational efficiency, right? So you don't cost so much money. So then these are different objectives, and objective 4 is like invest in the future, AI,
Right.
whatever, right? So like you can build a brand or whatever, and that would give you ability to say, okay, so we can do something like this. So we would say grow new accounts. And inside of it, it was a streamline partner self-management. Obviously, you have more partners, partner can give you more accounts. This is one of the ways to do that, right? So that's one of your strategies. So I can even change this. I have goals, and I have this as a strategy. Right, now you have a goal, so you have a strategy. This is the part where the goals you align with your board. Strategy is amongst yourself to decide,
Okay.
how do we do
Right.
that? Right, so once you say, I have my goals of my strategy, now I can put my project into this category, because otherwise it will say, why you have to do this project? Tell me a reason, right? It's
Okay, so sorry.
blank.
So the new demo for retailer prospects, that's a project. The Streamline Partner, that's a strategy, or we also call it an initiative.
Yeah, strategy, yes.
Yeah.
Initiative is fine, yes.
Okay, great. And then the Grow New Account, that's a theme.
Yeah, that's a goal.
Awesome. That's a goal. Sorry, that's a goal.
Yeah.
And then, yeah. So what happened to theme? Where did the themes go?
We didn't do theme. We can add themes to here. We can add themes to here. Right.
Okay. That's what. It's just a view that didn't show that. Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
You can decide what you want to show, right?
Right. Okay. Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool.
So then you can have a very good story to tell your board, right? So you will go to your board, say, hey, remember we decided on these objectives, and our objective is to grow newer accounts. We're gonna reduce churn, and we're gonna invest in the future. We'll have AI everything, right? Out of these objectives, let me clean this up a little bit so we have a better way to look at this. I'm going to remove anything that has undefined, so it's more clean, right? So we only have things that are already defined. Okay, we'll save this. Okay. So now you go to the board, you say, look, here's our goals. We have growth accounts, we have reduced churn, and we have operational efficiency. I'm going to just do all of that. And I'm going to add a grouped timeline. So now you can see overall, here's our progress. Change this to monthly. Okay, so now you can see these are what we plan to do for these 3 goals. Now goes inside the goals, that we complete 12% of the overall projects we want to do. Go inside of those goals. These are our strategies. For us to grow a new account, our strategy is streamline partner self-management and streamline partner onboarding. It could be something else, but let's just say that.
Yep.
And you see this going underneath it. And if I go down even further, we can say, oh, okay, this is the project we're working on. And you say, okay, how is this project working? And then you can go down, you can see more. These are all the stories. And here's the progress. And then you can see how they are. So this is exactly the 4 bird's eye view all the way down to microscopic of who's doing what. So this based on our customers so far, this screen and this screen, they use it for their board a lot. They typically on the screen, they will show, these are our goals. They will show a timeline, and then they show different projects, and then these are different teams. They would say, okay, our platform team has these 2 projects. They have, you know, this is green, this is yellow, and stuff. And if you want to add more, you can add a progress, for example. If you want, you can also add a progress here. So you can see, okay, this is a percentage completion. So give you all that information to your board and to your executive team on what you're building, where you are. Are they red, yellow, green? And what timeline that is, progress they have.
Okay, cool. Anne, Han, do you have any questions?
No.
Okay, so, sorry, go ahead. One of the things that the lock said, Becky, was that we weren't using Jira right. So I was wondering, has he shown you any of our, well, or have you had a look inside our dragonboat site?
Right. So I know in your current Jira instance, there are maybe 2 or 3 Jira projects were set up correctly. Most of them aren't. And then also, not all the engineering teams are using Jira. They don't necessarily create stories. They don't necessarily update them. They don't necessarily tie them to Epic. So I would say, I think Ms. Hong and then Ms. Huang, 2 of them, their projects are much, much better managed than the others. A lot of others, they're not very well organized yet. And I think it's a good opportunity to get them to set up or consistently well. And we actually, we provide Jira audit and then Jira recommendations for you guys as well, for our customers.
You did, or you can?
We do. We have additional basically consulting engagement with our customers.
Right.
So we can look at your Jira. We can give you recommendations on what you need to do. And then we can also just do it for you. So we have a different tiers of consulting, basically help you set up.
Right, okay. So here's the issue. Again, I don't know exactly what Locke has told you, but some of this information may or may not be new to An and Ha. Is that while we have a PMO, we have some project managers from IT, what they don't seem to have is a high level of sort of, you know, a CMM level or even process. So when we try to get project managers to work with Jira, they don't get it. They still for spreadsheets.
Right.
And then we move up to the, you know, the PMO. Don't seem to have any portfolio management. So I think we have some gaps in our teams, you know, in our top to bottom, how we would manage portfolios. We have some gaps here. So if that is the case, is there a way around it, or should we not? How can we fill the gaps so that we can still take advantage of dragonboat and make sure this stuff gets done? Do you have any thoughts about it?
Yeah, so it's very funny because most of the company, when they start using dragonboat, they realize, oh my God, our Jira's messed up. We have a company that it's a public company. I can't say their name. But when they use dragonboat, they found out they have an Epics that's been open since 2016. And it just, you know, it's just like keep adding on and things not being closed up. And you know, obviously they have a 3,000 epics, and then their executive thought they only have a 300 project. You know, maybe they said like between 100 to 300. So we looked, there are more than 3,000, and basically there are things goes as far back as 2015, 2016. So yeah, so then they're like, oh my God. So they use this opportunity to teach their team, close a bunch of stuff, killed a bunch of dead projects, because from an engineering perspective, that tickets just come to their queue, right? So let me show you my Jira. And look, I don't have a big team, and we haven't been around for that long. But let me show you my Jira. You will know how it could look like for a company that's bigger. Just look at this. Just look at this. Let me remove all the filters. It's incredibly amount of stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, this is like my own stuff, right? You see how much that is, and we already managed this. So that means you have to see this. These are category. These are epics. Anything no epics, you shouldn't work on, right? Because it's not part. For example,
Anything what? Sorry, what did you say?
So what we want to do is we create this bottoms up and top down way. We automatically pull all the epics from Jira into dragonboat. So that so if someone creates something, we can see. We say, wait, what is this? Why are you guys working on that? Right. So we have that kind of control, if you want, to say these are the things that we pull from Jira that you shouldn't be working on. Secondly, is everything that doesn't have a Jira, we create a report. What doesn't have an epic, we create a report. Say these are the orphans. You guys shouldn't have orphan. Everything should have a home. So that will give you a proper way to manage your work, right? So your engineers are doing work that is supposed to work on, not just someone go to them, ask them to do something. They don't know better. So they just say, oh, okay, someone said I need to work on this, work on this.
Right. Yeah. Wow. Okay. So, yeah, because I'm looking at some of these in our dragonboat in this area called, I'm not sure if it's a theme, or business banking platform. Oh, it's a roadmap, business banking platform with a lot of things in it, and I'm not sure what they are. If these are epics, I don't know where they come from. Initiative, SOBA, secure banking.
Right. So what's
yeah, but sorry, I was just going to say, I don't know where this sort of fits into. If this is anyway, don't worry about that. I'll work with home to figure out what's really going on there.
Right. So what we recommend you to do is to have a roadmap owners. So then you can go to these roadmap owners saying, hey, check on your stuff, because basically this is your budget, right? So if you own the roadmap and then you own resources and those are your budget. So if you're quote unquote overspend because all these things come to you, that you need to keep an eye on it, right? And without the tool, it's very hard to do. With the tool now you can see.
Yeah. Okay. I think what I'm going to suggest, we should have to wrap this up. But I'm going to start with a little test, something, just to start to understand, and then I'm thinking about see if we can get sales involved in this, because the CEO came from sales, and so to get some transformational love, and I think that one of the things I proposed was an end-to-end sales app. So see if, which would involve a lot of areas in the company. So see if we can start to spread this out, spread the use of dragonboat and these ideas about trying to be a little agile, trying to get some visibility, trying to do projects, something other than a spreadsheet. But I have to talk to the CTO about that. Anyway, Han, do you have any questions?
Han, do you have any question? Ha?
No.
Okay.
No question.
Oh, we have someone else there too. Who else is there?
I don't understand it. But
Yeah, it's time to understand. We'll work with one.
no.
Is it something? Is there anything jumps out to you? Anything that you say, well, this is what we've been looking for, or anything's like, I don't get it?
A quick question that now in IT, people use Microsoft project to manage the project, and I don't know if that's a question maybe for Kevin. They will transform to use dragonboat, or we have any tool to connect between dragonboat and the MP?
Yeah, so I mean, Microsoft Project is just this.
It's not a management tool, it's a tracking tool. Am I right? Do you think, Becky?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you would sort of, you know, put it down, this is what we're going to do, and then you would track it in progress. So you can look at a Gantt chart. So it's one tool.
Right.
dragonboat also does that, but it takes on, you know, a much, you know, top to bottom kind of managing the portfolio of products and initiatives and all these kinds of things. So we shouldn't be using, we have to be using an integrated platform like dragonboat to do this management and not tracking. And that's one of the things we have to get away from. Across the bank, everybody, all these different business units are doing tracking and not management.
Right.
Okay.
So we don't. Yeah. So Jira is the place where we should be creating, you know, and putting in the data for all the tasks and work and organization and stuff like that. And then that feeds into dragonboat for organizing and managing and viewing and understanding.
Right. And to your point, dragonboat can also do Gantt chart planning task dependencies as well. And then the nice thing about dragonboat is it's a portfolio tool. It's also program management and a project management tool. Depends on how much data you want to show on your screen. If you show one project, you can plan tasks and details. I think Ms. Chow use it for task and dependency management. But then we also tie to Jira. So then as a project manager, you have your project plan. A project plan is not the same as your engineering execution. You can map these two. You say, okay, this is my project plan, and this is what Jira tells me, am I on track or not? So you can tie all that stuff into one place.
Awesome. Sorry, I've got a roll. I've got a hard stop. I had a hard stop. Becky, thank you so much for taking the time to do this. I will report back to you in a week and let you know what progress we've made, because I insist that we make progress.
Yeah.
Because I think there's tremendous value in this software for the CTO office and for the company in general. So thank you very much. Awesome, great job.
Thank you. I am excited to help you guys. Well, nice meeting you. Look forward to partnering with you.
Yeah.
Okay,
Thank you
so much.
bye.
Thank you.
Okay, bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye.